Weekly, GarageBand, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly. Ooh. Need an answer to your question, John, you'll have a suggestion. He's a fountain of all knowledge. I think he might have gone to GarageBand College. What he doesn't know, we'll try and find out. So join the chat and give him a shout. Pete John, Pete John, GarageBand Weekly.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today for yet another week. My name is Pete Johns, and in the next hour or so, because time is a bit of a weird construct, we'll be going through some questions that I've had recently about GarageBand. I've got some pre-saved ones, but we're also live. So if you're tuning in live and you've got a question, you can have an opportunity to ask those as well. We are brought to you, as we are each and every week here on GarageBand Weekly, by my GarageBand guide. Not that one, that one. If you just go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you can check out this one. I know many of you know what's here, but in case you're new, in case you're just getting started with GarageBand, you can kick things off with my GarageBand Beginner's Guide, just $10. Always has been, probably always will be. You've got all of my playlists there, all of the different GarageBand tutorials I've created over 7 years here on YouTube. That's a lot of back catalogue going on right there. You've also got the links to the communities, the fantastic Facebook groups and Discord servers, and of course you've got the Q&A. So speaking of questions, you've got all the frequently asked questions about how to do things. You want to know how to do automation? It tells you right here, and then you've got a bunch of different videos that you can watch showing you in detail how to do everything you want to know about GarageBand, but we're afraid to ask. Welcome aboard. If you're here live, say g'day. If you do have a question, all you need to do is that put a big Q in front of your question, and I'm more than happy to answer anything you got. GarageBand related, music related, want to know what color socks I'm wearing? I'm not wearing socks. I don't even have shoes on. That's how I roll around here. But please go ahead and put a big Q in front of your question if you have that. We'll jump into some news and notes really quickly, and then we've got a whole bunch of questions and practical stuff to get to today. Yeah, we're going to be diving into the iPad and playing around in GarageBand quite a bit today. Let's say g'day to the folks who are here live. Hello to Princess LDG on a home work break. G'day to Thomas Christ. Hello, Mark Bro. Thank you, Thomas, for linking to the FAQ. Trevor Bear's driving and listening. Hopefully driving and just listening. Don't watch. Don't worry. I'll explain it. I do a lot of talking, so you don't have to look. Don't take your eyes off the road. Hello, Joe and Barry Glenn as well. I hope you are all going swimmingly today. That's right. Putting a Q in front of your question definitely helps out. All right, let's talk some news and notes. So the only real news and notes that I had, well, I've got a couple of things. Number one, iOS 16.4. So I've been testing it on my iPads, on my iPhone, on all my devices. Haven't had a problem yet. I've checked in with the community. I've asked a lot of folks. No one's had any issues with it yet in terms of plugins not working, apps not working, GarageBand not working. So if you're an iPad or iPhone user, I think the time is now. Unless you're right at the end of a really important project and you don't want to risk it for the biscuit, then go ahead and update to 16.4 now. Does it have any amazing new features? No, but it does have a few security patches, and the last thing you want is to be held vulnerable when you don't need to be. The only other news that I have for you is that I am going on holiday soon, so we've got a week still to go, and I keep mentioning it, and people are like, I thought you'd left on holiday, Johns. And like, no, I've got another week to go, which means that next week's GarageBand Weekly will be the last. So that'll be the last one for a little while. GarageBand Weekly is going on hiatus for a few weeks, and then that'll be return in May. So next week, and we're doing a cleanup. We're doing a spring cleaning edition of GarageBand Weekly next week to get my stuff all in order and to help you get all of your GarageBand projects organized. Because if you're anything like me, no matter how hard you try, they can't stop us. No matter how hard you try, even if you've got folders and even if you've got things in place like I do here, you just end up with a mess and a bunch of stuff around. So I thought we'd spend a little bit of time cleaning up. And is it an excuse for me to get my stuff cleaned up? Yes, but you might learn a thing or two about file management or version control or the way that I manage things, the way the iCloud Drive works, how you can zip up and store stuff that you might not need. So that'll be next week on GarageBand Weekly. So tune in for that one. Should be a lot of fun. Go ahead and let us know your questions. I will tag them, and because we've got a few questions that we've got to answer here as well. If I do miss a question, then feel free to ask it again, but just give me a bit of time. I've grabbed yours, Thomas, and I've grabbed yours, Princess LDG. So we'll start with those, and then we'll crack into the other questions that we have here. Alrighty, let's get started, shall we? So Princess LDG has a question. I'm writing a soft rock song. Love a bit of soft rock. Where should electric guitars be put in a mix? Where should electric guitars be put in a mix? In a soft rock song in particular? Yeah, so there's a few schools of thoughts on guitars, and those in the chat, feel free to chime in as well. Generally, for a wall of guitar sound, you want at least 3 guitars. You want a left, a center, and a right. You can go with just a left and a right. You can go with left, middle, right, right. Balance is the key, in my opinion. Very rarely do you want just your guitar to be on one side. The only time that you might want, say, guitars on the left is if you've got like another mid-range instrument like a piano or an organ on the right. So bands like Crowded House from time to time have put like an organ on the right and then their guitars on the left, and it creates a nice stereo feel. But with so many people listening on mono devices these days, like your iPhone speakers and your iPad speakers and computer speakers, you generally want balance, and you want something that's going to mix down into a mono sound and still sound good. So in terms of guitars, let's jump in here and I'll find a project of mine that uses some guitars. My recent song, Sink or Swim, is a punk song, but the same principles pretty much apply. So if we jump in here to my last version of my song, Sink or Swim, which we created wholly here on the show, you can check that out in the previous episodes if you like. What you'll see here is my electric guitars. They sit in, so here's the bass guitar. So for my bass guitar sits right down the middle, and you'll generally want your bass guitar to be in the middle. So we've got the bass doing its thing. We've then got this guitar over here on the left. And then we've got this guitar on the right. And then I've got some lead guitar parts, as you can see down here. These all sit in the middle. So I've gone with the simplest approach for guitars here, which is bass in the middle, one guitar to the left, one guitar to the right. And the key to this is you want different guitar sounds. So if you're doing a soft rock song, you want to have 2 different guitar tones. You can use either the amp simulators like I've done here, or something like Tone Bridge, or there's a whole bunch of amps. Go look at Jade Starr's channel. She's got 15 different amp sims that she's reviewed there. But you can just use the GarageBand sounds or whatever app you're using, their built-in sounds, but make them different. Give them different tones, because as you can hear here, we've got one different tone over on the left, and then we're playing a similar riff, but with a very different tone. More of a crunchy, fuzzy, grungy tone on the right, and more of a trebly bright tone on the left, and together they work nicely like that. Now, what I would do is, if I wanted a fatter guitar sound, is I'd simply add a third guitar playing the same thing again and put it down the middle. So that way, if you're finding your guitars are too wide and sparse and they don't have enough power, then grab another guitar, put it up the guts, and that will indeed help you out. So that's the way I approach guitars. There's not one way to do it, but generally you want some sort of stereo when it comes to recording guitars, because guitars sound great when you get that real wall of guitar kind of sound. It's what a lot of people like to go for, and it's what sounds cool in a rock song. There you go. There's every guitar app Jade has ever covered, which is plenty. Simple. Go with simple. Go with simple. Let's see. We'll see if we've got any other questions. I've tagged yours, Rena. I'll throw that in the pile. Thomas says, what I usually do is have one guitar down the middle in the verse, and then 2 different guitars playing left and right the chorus. That's another great thing, is you don't have to keep it the same. So even in GarageBand, so I know it's a little bit trickier in GarageBand because you don't have panning automation, but what you could do is, say you've got 2 guitars here, you wanted one guitar part down the middle, you could create a third guitar part that's centered, and then only have that playing during the verses. And then to get that real wall of guitar sounds and to get some change up in the choruses, you can then kick in these. So if I wanted to do that, just to show you exactly what I mean there, is let's just say we wanted just this one guitar. We could duplicate this track out, and then say we only wanted this one in, I'm just going to do this here. So we only wanted this one at the start here. We could just move that to this track, make this centered, and then delete out this bit. So if we wanted to do it like this, then we could have just this one guitar centered up the guts for this first section. And then we get to maybe this section down here. We'll put this one back up here. It can convert from like that centered guitar to a stereo guitar. So it goes from that center to moving out. So there's another idea to mix it up, to change up what you're doing. You can do that as well. Great suggestions. This is why we do these live, because we get great suggestions from the folks who are watching the show as we go along. Question here from Thomas Christ. Are you taking any recording stuff with you? I was just thinking about this, and it's interesting. It'll be a good test. I'm not obviously taking a guitar or a MIDI keyboard. And by the way, where am I? This will answer Rena's question. Is your trip to California yet? It's a mystery at the moment. So I know I'm being all mysterious and stuff, but yeah, I'll be documenting, and then it will all be shared. All shall be revealed, but I can't give away too much at the moment. I know it sounds like it's one of those things that's like, oh, it's going to be so mysterious until you're just like, oh yeah, you went to Whyalla. Oh. My South Australian friends will get that one. But yeah, am I taking recording gear with me? A little bit. So I am taking my iPad. I'm tossing up whether I take my laptop. I don't want to be on holidays, on vacation, doing work, because that's the whole idea of getting everything pre-recorded. But yeah, there's so many things I can do with my laptop day to day. I haven't quite been able to. The iPad is good, especially with the Magic Keyboard, but doesn't quite have a desktop browser. It doesn't quite have the things I need for that. So in terms of what I'll bring there, I'm probably going to bring a microphone. So I've got a little Shure MV88. So if you're not familiar with that, you can go to my gear guide. So if you go studiolivetoday.com/gear, that is my my mobile microphone, and I don't talk about it much. Wrong page. I don't talk about it much, but it's a great little microphone for just plugging in recording sounds. So if I'm doing, say, some to-camera stuff that you'll occasionally see me doing, like short videos and things, I use my little Shure MV88 microphone. So if we come down here, it is this one here. So the Shure MV88 just plugs into the lightning port, and it's a stereo mic. I've got a dead cat windshield for it, which is those fluffy windshields. And you can see there, it's just a really small, compact microphone. So this will probably come with me. In terms of anything else I do, there it is. It's got a little carrying case. So you can see there, carrying case. It comes with its little fuzzy wuzzy, but I tend to use the separate fuzzy that I got, the dead cat one. So I'll probably be taking that one along. I am tossing up whether I take my my Meteor, my USB microphone as well. So I'll probably throw this, if not in my carry-on, then in my packed luggage, but my little Meteor, because this one's handy. This will plug into anywhere, to a laptop, a desktop, or actually, that's a really good price for it right now, by the way. I think I paid about $100 Australian. It's now like $42 US. So this little sucker is a USB microphone, which means that you can plug it in via the USB adapter, or you can plug it directly in via USB. And just in order, it's got a headphone jack too. So on the back here, there, you can see it's got a headphone jack as well. So that's a handy one to have, so I could, if I wanted to record something and do some monitoring at the same time, I would take that. But that's about it. It's going to be pretty light on. So I was thinking, do I bring an audio interface? Well, I'm not going to plug anything in. I'm not taking a guitar, not going to take keyboards, not taking anything like that. So in terms of music, because there will be music production, I'm on holiday. I enjoy, that's one of the things I like doing. So yeah, in the downtime, sitting around and fiddling around in GarageBand is something I'll definitely want to be doing. Yeah, I don't want to be mobbed by fans. That's definitely the big concern, Barry, is all the fans that may mob me. There is the gear guide. So yeah, if you want to go and get all of my gear recommendations, they are indeed over there. If anyone else has got any other questions, once again, just put a Q in front of your question. I'm going to dive in because I've got some great questions during the week and I wanted to answer those here on the show. They are linked down in the description, so you can check those out. The first one I got here comes to us from Smiling Tiger, Hidden Dragon, who says, how do I save my EQ and track settings so that every time I enter GarageBand, my settings are ready for me to record? What a great question. I have covered this before, but we're going to cover it again today. It all comes down to creating yourself a GarageBand template, which we're going to do right here on the show. In fact, before I do that, I'm just going to show you what I already have. So if we come out here and we go to my ideas folder, all the way out here, we go in here. What you'll find is if we do this, if we separate this via name, you'll see right at the top here, I have this project called template. So if I tap on this one, you'll see it'll open it up. And what do we have on this template? We have my very loud sound at the top there. We have Kyle on drums here. We have 2 acoustic guitars. We have a lead vocal. We have the Liverpool bass. And I think I was just playing around. I put a punk rock electric guitar on there as well. And what you can actually do is you can set yourself up a GarageBand template and you can set everything you want here. So you can not only put all the tracks in here, but you can come in here, say I wanted to always have my acoustic guitar with one left and one right. I can set the panning like that. My lead vocals here, if I always wanted to make sure I had a little reverb and a little delay on my lead vocals, I can do that. If I wanted to make sure that my bass had a little more compression, I can do that. And if I wanted to make sure the punk rock guitar was a little bit more treble heavy. So you can set everything in here all the way down to even your EQ. So you can change around your EQ, you can change around all the effects, you can even add additional third-party plugins. So if I knew that I always wanted to, on my vocals here, well, you can see here, I've got the FAC Altezza plugin that I was obviously playing around with at some stage. So we don't need the welcome tour. Oh, okay, we're having the welcome tour. So you can actually put whatever plugins you want on there. And then when you save out this template, so if we go back to our main screen, that's going to be baked in there. Now, here's the thing. As soon as you want to start a new project, instead of going create song, what you do is you tap and hold on your template, you hit duplicate, and it's going to create template 2. And then all you need to do there is name this new song or whatever you're calling it, and then you're good to go. You can open up that project, start recording on that one. So if you're finding that you sit down and every time you start a new GarageBand project, you're setting up the same tracks, the same setup every time, yeah, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is create yourself a template. Now, to do this from scratch, again, all you need to do is go create song, start selecting your tracks. So we'll put, say, like a vocal on here. We'll go, yep, we want this to be vocals and the radio ready, and hit done. And then grab our next track. And we want this one to be a drummer because we're always going to use a drummer track. So we'll go drummer and put that one on there. Now, the good thing about adding a drummer track is it's going to actually add some audio there. So in this case, a little percussion. The other things that you can do is you can also come in here and set your tempo. So if you want to change your tempo, say you always like starting around about 120, you can set your tempo to 120. You can even come in here and change your key signature. I'm a sucker for some G major, so I'll set it to G major. Make sure my follow song key's on. Make sure that this section is set to automatic. Like you can set any of the parameters you can set here in GarageBand. You can set up in your template, and then it's just a matter of hitting in the top left and tapping on this one and calling it whatever you want. And the reason I put a question, like a quotation mark, what is that called? Exclamation mark in front of it, and you may even want to like put it in maybe caps like that and maybe some exclamation marks after it, is that will bring it right to the top. So whenever you sort by name, it'll always pop your template right at the top. And then when you want to create, it's right there, ready to go. Remember, don't put your recordings in the template. Always when you're starting a new song, tap and hold, hit duplicate, and then you're good to go. You're off to the races and you can start creating in GarageBand. It should work well for you all the time there. I've grabbed your question, Princess LDG. I love questions. We're doing a Q&A show, so there you go. I know I would go through serious withdrawal if I wasn't doing any music for a couple of weeks. Wouldn't work around. Of Crow on a Wire, I've grabbed your question as well, so I'll throw that here and answer that shortly. Alrighty. The next question we had here was from, remove that one. Remove that one, remove that one. It is Princess LDG. So I know that the bass guitar goes down the middle of a mix, but is it possible to add an electric guitar to the middle as well? Yeah, it is. So you can. I think as we were talking before, you can have your bass guitar and your electric guitar in the middle. If you have everything down the middle, though, it's going to be very sort of static and it's going to be very middle heavy. It's going to hit you in the center. You generally want to push things out to the sides a little bit. What you can, if you're only using one guitar, let's just say the example we were talking about before, you were only using one guitar, though. So if I go back to my, the example we had with my Sink or Swim project, which we had over here, this one here. Which, by the way, I think I've messed up. I think I saved that in, which was a really bad idea before I undid it. So now, let's quickly fix this. Otherwise, I'm going to come back to this and go, what the heck did you do, Johns? So we need to... Oh, we've made a bit of a boo-boo here. I'm gonna have to correct this later. Yeah, that's a really bad idea. This is why you don't play around with projects you've actually finished with. Always create yourself another one. I don't know why I didn't. So yeah, I've deleted that. This is a good tip. I've deleted that. And it was a separate take from this one. And once you delete an entire take, even though there's non-destructive editing, see here, I can't bring this back because this was a completely different take. So I can't get it back, this one that I deleted here. What I'm going to have to do is go to a previous version and bring it back in. This is why version control is important. In fact, let's pause and show you that. So this is why whenever I'm creating a song, you'll realize, or you would have seen, that I always have all these different versions. Because what I can hopefully do here now is go back to Sink or Swim version 8, this one here, and recollect that bit of guitar. There it is. So there's that chunk of guitar that I accidentally deleted. It's from there, and just make sure where it's lined up. So it starts right on bar 9. And what I can do now is actually copy between projects. So we can copy that one here from version 8. I did this on purpose. Sure, let's go with that. We can go back into my version 9, and this one that I was messing about with where I shouldn't have been in a final version of a project, I can just go here, tap again, hit paste, and there you go. It's resurrected. It has returned. And then what I was doing here before is this middle guitar, I'll return there. But before I do that, let's just show you this. So for Princess LDG asking this is, what if you've got one guitar down the center? Is that okay? We'll take a listen to this guitar and this bass, both in the middle here. It's okay, but it's a bit straight up and down, isn't it? It's a bit straight up the guts, whereas if you compare that to when you had the left and the right, you had that nice wide sound. But there is a tip here that if you want to cheat, not cheat, but if you only got one guitar and you want to kind of push it out to the left and the right to create some space, just use the wider plugin. It's free. Here, we'll take off this band EQ from that guitar. Actually, no, we'll leave that there for now. we'll create, we'll add a new track. In fact, we'll move this into, oh no, this is the one, this is, okay, this will be fine because this is this new centered track that we created anyway. So we can do this safely. We'll delete that one there and we'll add in audio unit extension and come on down here to wider. This is free. It's from Infected Mushroom, which is a creepy but cool name for a plugin creator. And what you can do is just add some width to that. So then if we wanted to give this guitar a little bit more width, you can hear there that that's with them down the guts. Even with just a little bit of width, how much better, if you're listening in stereo, how much better does that sound? Or you can go nuts. Or you can go super nuts. If you want more of that affected kind of sound. So yeah, even if you only got one guitar, you don't want to go the stereo guitar route, then yeah, you're good to go with that. All right, let's fix this project before I leave. Because I've come in here and played around with stuff I shouldn't have. Excuse me. So I need to return this one back up. So very carefully, straight up, delete this one out here, and they should all be back together again. Let's just give it a quick test play. Yep, we're golden. So that's another option that you have there if you've only got your one guitar. Thank you again for the question. Hopefully that helps. Nice. like there. Jeremiah says, took me forever to get in the habit of constantly saving. Luckily, Cakewalk by BandLab lets you save, lets you set the save limit. Yeah, exactly. Cakewalk is very cool for that, and so is things like Logic Pro. GarageBand, unfortunately, doesn't have great saving, so you do have to be a little bit more manual with the process, and absolutely do not go too overboard, because you will get phasing issues, which is that cancelling out. So if you go too wide, what it's doing is creating a left and a right version of the same guitar part, which you can get phasing issues. And the very simplified version of that is it'll cancel it out, which means when you play it back in mono in particular, you won't hear it, or you'll hear it really muffled and sounding crappy. So just a little bit of width is good. Hello, Russ. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Let's grab a question here from Crow. I just pressed a weird button I've never pressed before. I didn't know. I didn't know what I pressed there. Crow on a Wire says, I messed with the very loud sound track. I didn't find it did anything. What am I missing? So, what is the very loud sound hack and how does it work? Let us show you, because I used it in my most recent song that I'm working on at the moment called 1%. So let's dive out of here and we'll jump on over to that one. It's in progress. It's 1%. All right, let's bring up GarageBand here and open up. Now, I've done the right thing this time. I've pre-created this test version. So we'll open up this test version so that we can play around and mess around with this. Did I not add the loud sound here? It looks like I haven't added the loud sound. Well, this will be a good test of this then, because I haven't actually added this in. That's right, I added it in Sink or Swim. So what I can do, because I know it's in my template, remember what we talked about before, the template? If I go to my ideas folder and I go to my template, that's the new version I just created. This is the version I'm talking about. What we can do is we can copy this track from here, tap, copy, and we can bring this very loud sound into our new project. So we'll go back there, we'll go to my in progress to 1%, to the test version here. We'll scroll to the bottom, we'll tap in a blank space, and we'll hit paste. So here's my very loud sound. I'm going to turn it all the way up. I'm going to solo it, and then I'm just going to check, because I don't think it brings across, no, it doesn't bring across the effect on this. Oh, yes, it does. There you go. Didn't really know that. Brings across all the effects when you paste it in. So this has got the maximum volume that I can possibly put on here. I'll play it, but I'll turn it all the way down just so that you can hear my scream here. So it was fun. I just screamed into a microphone as loud as I could. And then I came in here, I added the bullhorn effect and turned the drive up maximum so it's nice and distorted, a big sausage waveform. I then went to the visual EQ and turned that gain up to add an extra 30 dB of gain. So it's kind of nuts. You probably don't need to be quite that loud, but I am. So I did that. So let's do a couple of tests here and see what actually happens when we include this or don't include this. So when we first did this, we exported this, it normalized it up to 0 dB. So that means that the loudest points in this song went right up to the top. By adding this in, so if we unsolo that, and by the way, what we want to do is add this right at the start or right at the end. Let's put it right at the end. Reason being is that we need to be able to trim it once we've actually done this. So we'll put it right at the end there. It's at maximum volume. It's going to be included in this song. Now if we close out, we're in this test version. Let's export this. So tap and hold and share. I'm going to share it as a song, an uncompressed wave, and we're going to hit the open in button. I always still hit the open in button. I know it can work if you do the save there, but if you open in, what it does is it exports it first, and then you tell it where to stick it. Tell it where to go. And if you do this and then send it off to Audio Share, I've just found that it's more consistently successful than trying to send it there directly. Sometimes you get an error. So when you're exporting in GarageBand, my recommendation, always hit the open in button first. And it's exporting away. While it exports away, we've got some more questions again that have come in from folks that have asked questions throughout the week. But if you're live again and you've got more questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them right here in the chat arena. I've just grabbed yours. What if you don't know where to stick it? Yeah, I know, sometimes. Then you got to ask someone, they'll tell you where to stick it. So let's send this one over to Audio Share. So what can we see here? Why is this? well, you can see here that here's our song, but look at this. We've got a heap of headroom. So it's created quite a bit of headroom there between, because if it's 0 dB, it pops right to the top here. So if we go to something else, so see this one? See how when you export things, they usually go right to the top there. So those ones are meaning that they're right up there hitting 0 dB. For this, for the 1% that we did here, it's not getting anywhere near, whereas the version that we exported before looked like that. So the reason that this is good is what we can then do is go to Tools, Trim and Fade. All we need to do is cut off the end and probably cut off the front here. So when I go to master this will give it a heap more room. So we'll do that. We'll hit save. And now we've got our trimmed version. And at the loudest point, it's still only here. And you can see the difference. You can see where we've got all that room. And if we wanted to then normalize it, you wouldn't, but say you wanted to normalize it just to show you what would happen. Normalized, it goes up to there. So here's the difference. There's your trimmed version, the original. There's your normalized version. So by having that little bit of extra sound in there, what you're doing is you're tricking it. You're telling it, actually, the loudest part of this song is right there at the end. Like that's all you're doing there with GarageBand. You're saying, make that the 0 dB sound, the one right at the end there, and that way it's going to create you some headroom that you can actually use then to master. Hopefully that makes sense. It's annoying that we have to do it, but we do. Jeremiah Peterson says, talking about phasing issues, noob here. So I know certain sounds more than others can phase each other out. Does it happen to vocals? Generally not. So phasing is usually caused when you're recording the same source with two different microphones at two different distances or at two different locations, or you're applying some sort of stereo effect that emulates that. So when you're only using one microphone and one sound, you generally won't get any sort of phasing issues. If you start layering up a bunch of different vocals, it's not technically phasing, but you can hear some weird sounds if you're singing the same note across a couple of things. And then usually just actually spreading them out can actually help with that. So if you're doubling vocals, you might find some issues that are similar to that, but generally not. You don't get the phasing issue. Where phasing comes in is where you're recording things, usually guitars, but sometimes vocals. So for instance, when I recorded vocals for this very song, I did use a stereo mic pair. So I had to make sure that they were the equal distance away, not only because they wouldn't pick up the notes at the same time if they were further away, but you start getting that inverse phasing issue if that happens. Yeah. So yeah, it's still a good idea to be careful with it and to not generate that, but yeah, it's not as big a deal. Not too bad. Yeah, hey, I should start doing that. Yeah, $5 for the first question, $10 for every subsequent question. I'm like a 1-8. What are they? 1-800 number? No, the paid services, that you used to have back in the day. Here it was 0055 in Australia that we had. Bebo, hello. Off topic, I missed the stream where you played my song. However, I watched the replay. I just wanted to thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And thanks for sharing your music. If we played it on Your Music Live, that's very, very cool. I don't remember the song. That's not anything offensive. It's just that there's so much cool music that we play on Your Music Live. It's hard to keep up with all of it that comes through. Princess LDG, I've grabbed your question as well as yours, Rena. G'day, John Swanson. I hope you are doing well. Or you can put it through Audio Bus and Audio Share as the in and out and lower the recording volume. That's how I do it. Yeah. So there's other ways to do it. To be honest, it's not actually as big a deal as you might think. It's only a big deal if your audio is really hot. So if you are really pushing the boundaries at the top end, because it's going to auto limit then. Here's the thing. What GarageBand does is if your overall volume is lower than 0 dB overall, it will use normalization to bring that up to 0 dB. If your overall volume is higher than 0 dB, it will actually pull that down. So the reason that you generally want to make sure your levels are lower rather than higher is if they're too high, it'll actually use limiting as opposed to just normalization. So it's auto normalization, but what that means is if you've got bits that are going into the plus, if you've got bits that are clipping at plus 6 dB, it's going to chop them off. And that's where you get that wavering sound. Have you ever heard someone's GarageBand project where it's like whenever the snare and the kick drum kick in, it's like pumping? Yeah, that's not good. You don't want that. That means that everything's up too loud. The solution for that is to use that method, but to also use the FX method. So if you haven't played around with that one before, if we tap the FX on here and just record in a bit of any old thing, because we're not going to actually use it, it creates a track down the bottom here, which is the FX track. So we're just going to delete that bit of FX. Boom, 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 boom. And what you can do with this is we can actually use the gain slider here to reduce the volume here. So if you're finding that no matter what you do, you're still getting a really loud sound and you're getting pumping, you can turn down everything by 10 dB here. Then when you export, instead of it clipping, instead of it doing that limiting at the top end, it's going to be below 0 dB. It's just going to push it up to that volume without doing any compression or limiting and actually changing the sound that you're creating. So that's another option that you have there. I know GarageBand is the land of hacks and workarounds, isn't it, at times? Good times indeed. But yeah, good tip there from Russ. So there's other ways to do it. And by the way, yeah, if you're exporting it and then you're mastering it, all you really need to do is, in your mastering app, you've probably got the ability to turn down the input gain as well. And even if you're mastering in GarageBand, just turn down that input, turn down the overall input at the start. That way, you're going to create yourself artificially a little bit of headroom so that when you add on any compression or limiting or anything else you do, you're going to go with it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, if you've got the apps, if you've got AUM, audio share, audio bus, you can bus things around and you can do all sorts of gain controlling. But if you've got none of that and you want to do it all within GarageBand and potentially audio share, then go with that. Go with that option. All right. Let's grab our next question. It comes from Rena. Last night I noticed that when I duplicated my project, it doubled my GarageBand transfer files. Should we copy the instead of duplicate to avoid that? Doubled your GarageBand. Okay, so you're saying you had a project that used a file from the GarageBand transfer file? I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. We do have maybe hold that thought and maybe re-ask it once we go through it, because I've got a question that's come in during the week about importing files, and we're going to play around with the GarageBand transfer file folder then. So I'll reassess it and have a look at it then. Princess LDG, is audio share available on Mac? No, it's not. It would be cool if it was, and I'm 99% sure it's not a Mac compatible app. Audio share Mac, because some iOS apps are available to use on audio on Mac. Yeah, no. This one is not. It's only available for on the App Store for iPhone and iPad. On Mac, it's a little bit easier because GarageBand for Mac has good editing controls. I've never really played with any other editors for Mac, to be honest. So I don't know. I don't do a lot of audio editing directly on Mac. Obviously, if you've got Logic, that's the best unit. You don't really need audio share when you've got Logic because you can do everything. You've got complete control over everything in Logic, and pretty much the same with GarageBand Mac. The reason we need audio share more so on iOS is that GarageBand in particular, but other apps as well, they don't manage your audio files well. They're not great for just doing basic editing functions. Actually, that Audacity, that's the one that you'd want. If you want just a very basic audio editor, Audacity, which I'm pretty sure I've used to use it on PC. I'm 99% sure it's available on Mac. It is. Yeah, there you go. So you can download. It's free, open source Audacity. So that's look. I've downloaded it. There you go. I'll play around with that later, shall I? Because I just apparently hit the download button. But I used to use Audacity when I was a very cheap, poor, lowly student. And not to say, sorry, that sounded like an insult. Princess LDG, you're a lowly, poor student. No, but back when I was starting out, because it was free, Audacity was a good. And a lot of people still use Audacity. I know professional YouTubers who use Audacity for all of their audio editing, especially if they're just doing videos or editing straight audio. A lot of what we do depends on the export. Yeah, exactly. All right. Question from Arena is, so when you export with the hack, where is your master volume? So the thing is that GarageBand doesn't really let you set anything in the way of master volume. So this volume up here is not relevant. This is just your output volume. you can't really get a good indication of what the overall master volume in GarageBand is. It's one of the main things that I've said for a long time that GarageBand should add, which is a simple master fader. That would solve a lot of problems. So the hack way around the master fader is that FX hack that I showed before. So this can just drop it there. But again, you're never really going to be able to see. You really just have to eyeball it and see, like go to your loudest part of your song and see where it's
don't want to admit it, that you don't know what to do.
And a good rule of thumb is stay in the green. If you're in the yellow, you're usually okay, but if you're seeing any orange or red and you're hitting right up the top here. So a lot of people start a project in GarageBand, they leave all the volumes at the default. And as you'll notice here, a lot of my volumes are way down. If all of these were at default volume, the track would be way too loud, and then it would be right up here in the orange or the red. And especially if you're using drums or auto drummer, they seem to have really loud drum sounds. So especially if you're using a drummer and you turn it up to the loud setting, you get that loud snare crack or that loud kick drum. Yeah, they are going to make your volume too loud. And these days, it used to be the opposite. In the analog world, people would record too soft, and they needed to turn it up, because with analog gear, you really needed to push it even into the red. You needed to get to defeat the noise floor of tape, like Russ and other folks have been doing this for a while will know what I mean. You need to get things really hot. You need to record at a hot level. In digital, with 24-bit and now 32-bit float, you don't need that. You got virtually zero noise floor. You got such low noise that it doesn't matter if you record a bit softer. And it doesn't matter if your overall recording is softer, because when you turn it up, you don't get a bunch of hiss. You don't get a bunch of background noise coming in. So go like softer or less loud is better 99% of the time. I haven't come across a time where it's not the way. So I duplicated my project in case of error for my copy, and when I opened my duplicate, my 40-something said 80-something with the dot. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one. That's a strange one. That might be one that you need to ask over at the Facebook group or something, because you might need to show exactly what happened there. Yeah. Export recommends 0 dB. Yeah. So yeah, just get things lower. G'day, Darren Anderson. Hope things are going well up there in Queensland, my friend. Have a 4X for me. All right. Maybe not now. It's be 10:30 in the morning, but later. All right. Let's continue on and see. Once again, if you do have more questions, please go ahead and ask them here. The next question I had here is related to the question that we had at the very start, but it's similar but different. So I thought I'd answer this one here. Where is it? Is it this one? Done well. So this a similar question, and I'll just cover it quickly. So this one that came in from Jason was, anyone in the chat know how to start a new project without having to reassign all my drum mics when I want to start over? So this is the exact same principle as we showed before. So if we jump back out here to GarageBand, so when we looked at the templates, so if you go back to the template section at the start, I showed you how to create a template to use for your future GarageBand projects. And here's the thing. Let's just say that for this user, they've got like 4 different tracks and they've got their drum mic set up. Or I'll do an example here with 2, because I've only got a 2-channel interface installed. So let's just say that you were just going here to audio recorder, you were going more sounds, you were going fun and clean, because you just wanted a clean microphone input for your drum. And that was for your first mic. And then you wanted this one, you wanted to duplicate it out, and you wanted this one for your second mic. What you want to do is come in here and set this one to channel 1. Turn your monitoring on for that one so that you can hear when you're recording. And then this one is on your channel 2. So you go up to here, you turn this one to channel 2. That's your second microphone plugged into your second XLR jack. And then you'd maybe even just set these so that you're recording both and monitoring both. So this is all set up to record. And again, if you're just using 2 mics, this is what you'd be doing. If you have 4 mics, if you have 6 mics, you have 8 mics, just rinse and repeat. Create all of them for everything. Then save it out as your template, just like we did before. And then use that for the future ones. So what I would do for you is I'd set yourself up your template with your drums exactly as you like them. You could even do your panning. So if you like your kick drum down the middle, if you like to set up some overhead mics and you pan one left, pan right, set them up, name them. So name them all as your different microphones. So what you could do here is this one, you could say, come in here and rename it. And this could be, say this is your kick drum mic. You just go kick and like that. And then this one here is under your snare. So you rename this one and you rename it snare, and so on and so forth. If you then wanted to, say you had your two overheads, what you can do is just duplicate this one. Boom, duplicate that and duplicate this one. So you've got the 1 and the 2 again. Drop this down to here. And so now you've got kick, snare, and this one might be overhead 1. So you'd come in here and you'd rename it overhead 1, OH1, and then this one you would rename as OH2. And then what you can even do, behave. What then we can do is grab this and pan them. So that's your overhead 1, and this is your overhead 2. And you can even call it overhead left and overhead right. So anything that you set up in here is going to go into your template, and it's all going to be set up, and then you're going to go out there and save it. And then all you need to do is when you're starting a new track, as we showed before, tap and hold on the template, hit duplicate, give it a name of whatever you want to call the actual track name, and then you're good to go. So then when you open it up, you've already got everything. You can just plug in your microphones, set up your recordings, boom, 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 hit record, and you're done. So templates can actually be super handy if you've got stuff that you want to record. Let me just delete this so that my next week is not going to be quite as horrible when we do all of our playing around with this stuff. All right. So yeah, so that's similar to that. So whatever you're setting up, whatever you're creating, you can create a template for it. And what you could do, just create yourself a 32 track template, and then what you don't use, you can delete out afterwards. So if you know that in every track you're going to want 2 acoustic guitars, 2 electric guitars, a piano track, an organ track, 4 vocals, 4 backing vocals, a strings track, a drum track. So you've got all those, you set them all up, and then you're doing something that you don't need all of them, well then you can just delete them out. Because if there's nothing in the track, it's only storing that tiny bit of data. The actual file, the template file, is super small. So even though I've created a bunch of different settings in this template file, it's still only 400 kilobytes. So until you actually record in any audio, it's just all the settings. It's just a bunch of data and numbers that are telling it what you might be using in the future. Anyway. All right, so hopefully that helps with those questions that you had there. G'day, Eddie. Hope you are doing well. Hello to Tre Verde. Hope you are doing well as well. Once again, if anyone just joining us has any questions, please let me know. If you're having fun, if you're learning something, maybe you're just renewing some knowledge, then feel free to hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, guns up, as we say. No one says that, Johns. No one says that. Let's see. What was our next question? I had them listed over here. Is it possible? So I've got another question here. Is it possible to change the notes of drums? Interesting. So you got a snare or you got a kick drum. You don't like the tone. You want to raise it or lower it down. This one's going to be a bit of a more involved process here, but I thought we would do it because I get this question a lot in terms of transforming your drummer into a drum track, and I've got it. I never remember how to do it. I need to write myself a really quick cheat sheet in order to show you how to do this. But let's see if I can remember. So I'm going to open this weird little template that we just did here. I'm going to open this and I'm going to change this drummer into drums. So we're going to see if we can remember how to do this. First of all, I'm going to get some better drum sounds here. Finn, I like your Finn, but no, we're going to go, who don't I use a lot? I haven't used Darcy in a long time, our pop songwriter. So let's go Darcy. Let's turn her up. Let's just throw a random preset for a summer song because it's nearly summertime for many of our friends there. And that's a pretty funky tune. That's it. Cool. So we'll go with that one for now. Now we're here in this template. So we'll save out of there. And again, we'll just do a duplicate of this. Duplicate, so we're playing around in this separate one. Now I've got to remember how to take this from drummer to drum. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do, you would be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be if you know me, how often I have to refer to my own tutorials to remember how to do things in GarageBand. But I've been asked this a heap lately, so I'm going to redo it So this is going to get a little bit meta here because I'm going to throw this up here. This is me showing how to do this process of converting the drummer to drums. So the first thing we need to do is to copy the drummer track. So let's find out how we do that. 3 sections here, all 8-bar sections. And you can see I've just changed up the different patterns here just so that you can ghost notes and things that can go across to audio recorder and tap on that one. And here we go. It can be anything here. We'll tap it and drag it there. So we need an audio recorder track and then we just need to record in anything. It doesn't matter. We can hit the record button. I don't even have a mic plugged in. Okay, we need to record something into that. So I'm following along, following my own tutorial. So let's just record something to this mic track because this is what I told myself I needed to do. So I'm doing exactly what previous Pete told me. Yes, it's Peteception going on here. So that's recorded in and looking exactly as it is. Let's go back to the screen and see what I do next. So yeah. So it's recorded nothing, but we just need that because for some reason, if we just copy this drummer track and paste it into another project, it will paste just the drummer track. But if we copy this along with this audio recorder track like this, just drag across both of them, tap here, tap again, and tap copy, this is actually going to copy the MIDI note data. Why it does this is your guess is as good. Again, hit the audio recorder and just record in a bit section length. Okay, so we need to set up a new project. Go to our all sections. We'll tap that. Here's where we could play in these in it and it will just work. But sometimes GarageBand's a little bit quirky. So what Biddy suggested in his video and what I'd always do is just duplicate out at least one more track because sometimes it doesn't put it on. All right, let's see if we can get this done because I think I recall what I was doing here now. So that's that version there. We're going to come out of here. We're just going to create ourselves a new project. In fact, we should be able to duplicate this one out, shouldn't we? Let's try that because that way it'll keep all the exact same settings. But this time we want this one to be a drum track. So if we delete that and instead we add the drum track with the drum that we want. So let's go in here and go acoustic drums. We'll just use the SoCal kit because that's a cool kit. There we go. And we'll save out of there. So now that one's in template 3. Template 2. So what was I saying? Let's see if it just works without me having to watch again. If we take all of that and we copy it, boom, and then we come out of here, and then we go to this one, and we paste there, and we paste. Nope, not at all. Maybe you have to be up here. Hey, bingo. All right. So that did it. So we've converted our drummer track to a drum, and now we can actually copy this one and go back to that one, original one here, and put both the drummer and the drums together at last, together forever. So all the people, all the naysayers that said, John's, your tutorial didn't work. Well, I only watched 4 seconds of it and I got it to work. So if I can do it, you can do it too. All right. So what we've got now is we've got Darcy and we've got Darcy. So here's Darcy. Here's the drummer version of Darcy. And here's the drums version of Darcy. Why do they sound different? Different kit. And that's the cool thing. You can change it up. You can move the drummer to a different kit. If you wanted to change that kit, no problem. Go from the SoCal, want to go back to the Bluebird kit, or the Live Rock kit, or the Brooklyn kit, Classic Studio kit, we can do that. Blue Ridge. Put it on the brushes. Let's go to the Bluebird. Bluebird's probably my favorite. It's got a very live kind of sound, the Bluebird kit. So yeah, Darcy, meet Darcy. Darcy, meet your replacement, Darcy. So now we can answer this question. Why did I do all that to answer the question of can we change the tone of a drum? Because I had to do that to get us to this point. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do some funkiness. I'm going to duplicate out a bunch of tracks here. Because what I want to do is I want to separate out these drums. We know how to do this, don't we? Because we've done this before. So tap there, tap, go edit. So this is going to be our complete drums. But we're going to take each kit piece and put it onto a separate track. So let's do the kick drum first. Now, I learnt this recently, that you don't have to awkwardly like tap and hold and drag across, make sure you get all the kit pieces. All you need to do is hold down on a kit piece and it will highlight just that kit piece. Now all we need to do is tap, hit copy, hit done. We can now go to this next track, tap, edit, and tap and paste. There you go. So it's copied all of those kick drums to that one track. So this is now our kick track. We can then grab that again. This is how simple and easy it can be. Grab this one. We now want our snare track. So tap and hold on the snare. Tap any one of these snares. Copy it. Hit done. come to our next snare track, hit edit, tap anywhere because it'll know it's the snare. So tap and hold anywhere. Oop, not tap and hold. Sorry, just tap. Hit paste. It's made an error there. We'll undo that. We weren't at the first bar there. So let's do that again. Tap, paste. That's better. So I was down here, and you notice there that it didn't paste it in the right spot. So you do have to be careful. You need to be at the start of it. And then we'll just do a couple more here. We might do the others together. So edit here. Because we just want all the symbols, like we don't need a separate one for the crash, because we're not going to actually edit any of those. So this time we will just tap and hold. In fact, they're our hi-hats and our tom. So let's just not worry about the tom. Let's just create a separate track for our hats. Copy. Hit done. Again, right to the start. Tap, edit, tap, paste. There's our symbols. All right, so we've got... Now what we'll do is we'll mute out original Darcy. So now we've done one of the pastes wrong, haven't we? We have I'm pretty sure it's the snare that we've probably messed up there. So if we move the snare to there, I reckon that's gonna... I mean, that's a different sound, isn't it? I've definitely messed something up there because you can see there that things are not aligned with where the original tracks were. So I've made a goof, I've made a boo-boo where I've moved these tracks into. But we'll go with it here for the sake of it. Yeah, don't do what John's did. I think I caught myself on that second one, but I think the first couple, I didn't paste it in at the point where the first hit was, and that is a trap for new players. The other thing that you can do, if you want to completely avoid that, is if you copy everything first and then delete what you don't want, it can sometimes be easier. So just to show you what I mean by that, another way to do this would have been to come in here, go to edit, and go here, go duplicate, and then copy the entire drum track, put the whole thing here, and then come in here and actually remove everything but the kick drum. So that's another option that you have if you wanted to create a kick, to do all that, and then everything would be removed. If you just delete out all that, then you've just left with the kick. And in fact, that's probably why I use that method more than I use the method that we use there, because it's more consistent. But anyway, let's go with this drum beat. It's interesting, it's different, it's unique. Because you got those like double hits there that kind of sound a bit different. Happy little accidents, a bit like Bob Ross. All right, so the main question that we had here is, can we change? Well, now we can, because now we've got just the snare on a separate track. So let's take a... So not only do we have the option of changing this kit, we can change this to any snare from any kit. We want it to be the classic studio kit snare. We can change the snare like that, which will adjust the tone. We want it to go to the 4 on the floor kit. We can adjust it there. Don't like any of those. I like the Bluebird the best. So we'll go back to the Bluebird. Well, what we can do, we can now add our processing on just this track. So if we go to this option here, we can actually use our tuning effect. And here in GarageBand, we've got a vocal transformer that we can actually use to adjust pitch. And it doesn't have to be on just a vocal. It can be on any track. So let's play this. What if we wanted to turn it up? What if we wanted to turn it down? Now, is it going to sound perfect? No, because the vocal transformer is not the greatest plugin. But there's other options as well. You can use, if we turn that one off, if you want to just adjust the tuning like just little tiny bits, if you go to Audio Unit Extensions, scroll all the way down to the bottom here, we can use these pitch plugin here. So there's a couple here. There's the pitch and there's the new pitch. And I think it is the pitch that we want here, AU pitch. Yep, so we can change this just by a small amount now. So if we... So, yeah, not really, but let's just say that you had a snare and you're like, I love this snare, but it's just a little too high. The note is a little too high. Well, grab this, drop it down by 64 cents, and then let's take a listen. Got a little bit more guts to it now, doesn't it? I reckon that sounds cool. So compared to, here's the original one without adjusting the pitch of the snare. Let's turn the pitch down. This gives you a different sound there. So, short answer, can you adjust the pitch of a drum specifically by coming in here and editing the MIDI? No, there's only the option to edit velocity or the actual drum itself. But with a little ingenuity, by converting it and separating the drum track out there, you get complete control over that, because now any different plugin, any different effect you want to use, you can throw it on here. And the cool thing about this is you can then separate out. So you can make sure that you don't want any reverb on your kick drum, but you want a bunch on your cymbals and your snare. You can get yourself a nice room sound on your drums. Cool. Done. So hopefully that helped out our friend that had the question about the drums, and anyone else that's interested in that. And I proved that the drummer to drums hack still works. I think I need to do a new video. I've learned over time that my old style was good, but it was a little too thorough. So this is a 12.5-minute video. I think I need to create a new version of that video that is 4 or 5 minutes. That is just step 1, blah, blah, blah. Step 2, blah, blah, blah. Step 3, blah, 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 blah. Because it's, yeah. I make music that fits my mood. Yeah, I got to do that. Music is great. Music is good. Music is great. We surrender our will as of this date to music. All right, let's move on to our next question. And this one, by the way, we've still got time here. You got about, oh, actually, no, we don't. We're overtime. But we'll go into a little bit of overtime. I'll answer another couple of questions real quick here that we had. But if you do have other ones, you can go ahead and ask them as well. Got a question here about sections. Can you add in sections after the fact? So once you've created a song in GarageBand, there's 2 ways to go about it, as you'd probably be aware. If we go to the In Progress button here, I'm just going to find my 1% track that we were playing around with before. So if we take a look at this one, this song was created all in one big chunk. So there are no sections to be seen here. You can see here that it just goes through from bar 1 right through to bar 70. So that's okay. But what if I wanted to create a section here, knowing that, you know, I've got my intro and my verse here. So this song. 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4.
When you
So I know that my intro is 4 bars. Well, what we can actually do is we can add in song sections after the fact. So it's actually pretty simple to do. If we hit the plus button here in the top right, and we want to add a section here, we're going to add this section and we're going to make it 8 bars. We'll take the automatic off and we'll actually make it 4 bars, because we know our intro is only 4 bars. So we'll come back to here. That is going to be our intro. We then want to have an 8-bar section here for our next section, which is going to be our verse. So we've created those 2. We'll just tap on that one and go to all sections to show everything. And what I'm going to do is delete out these drums, because it'll automatically fill. If you've got auto drummers, it'll automatically fill them. So delete that there. So what we now need to do is actually move all of our audio over to here. Now, once you've done everything, I won't show each and every section, but what you basically do is you create a section for each part of your track, and then you move the track over and it'll all line up. So I'll just pretend that I've added all the other sections, but just to make sure we've got enough room, let's just add a final section here of like 70 bars to have it there. So now, and again, we'll delete Finn. See it, Finn. So we'll delete that out. So now this section B, if this is where our intro starts, if we just tap and select all, and we move our entire project so that the intro starts right here at section B, like that, then everything else is going to line up. So you can see how it goes from B to C there. So there's our intro. And then into section C.
when you
So once you've actually mapped out everything and you've added all your sections, they'll all line up to be in the right spot. And then if you're just working on section by section, you can actually tap there and view just that one section. So there's section A, that's just the nothing. But section B, that's our intro. So that's just the intro section. And then section C, that's our verse. Now, why is this useful? Well, when you're getting to the arrangement phase of your project, what you can actually do is hit the edit button here and you can move them. So if we move section C there, we'll change this around, and now we've got the verse. I mean, you wouldn't do this, obviously, but you've got the verse before the intro. So it's going to be like this.
when you open your eyes again, 'cause you don't.
So again, because we didn't really want it to do that, it's going to go there. But yeah, it just makes it a cool way to actually then, if you want to start doing some arrangement of your song, you can actually do that using the different sections. So, yep, to answer the question from our friend that came in during the week, if you don't have sections in your track but you want to add them in, you can go ahead and do that. Just add them all to the end of your project and then shift the whole project over. And then obviously once you've done all this, you can just delete out section A because it'll no longer be needed in your project. So hopefully that helps you with that one. We did have a couple more questions, but you know what? We're going to have to finish off. We had 6 questions. We've answered 4 of them here, but we had a heap of questions from folks who are here live. So I'll hold those questions over and maybe we'll do some separate videos. I've already answered the people in the chat, so I've already responded to their comments and given them an answer there. So we should be all good to go. If anyone has any final questions, I'll be here for about 5 more minutes just to finish off and to let you know a little bit about what's happening over the next week here on Studio Live today. If you're watching on the replay and you had some fun or you learned something new or you enjoyed it, thumbs up, guns up, and feel free to share. Remember, sharing is caring and Sharon is Karen. So share the show with someone you know. That rhymes, and you know that rhymes. Thank you, Trey Verdi. I used BandLab for all my stuff, but I need to get more into GarageBand. Yeah, GarageBand's pretty cool. GarageBand is very cool. It's a good platform for recording. And I know someone sent me a message. I think it might have been Mars, one of our patrons. Someone sent me a message the other day saying that other people in iOS music production are starting to move back to GarageBand. They've been out. They've tried the rest. Now they're coming back to the best. And look, is GarageBand the best? No. But is it more stable, more simple, and just easier to pick up and run with than a lot of other DAWs? I believe so. My opinion. Remember, everything's just opinion. Opinion and experience. And in my opinion and in my experience, GarageBand is easier for the type of music I create. So I can't stress that enough, that you may be creating in FL Studio Mobile or BandLab or Audio Pro or Cubases, and you may find that the workflow for those works for you. And that's great. Keep doing it. I'm never going to tell you not to. The difference between a leader and a manager is the manager will tell you what to do and expect you to do exactly what they do. A leader, hopefully, if I'm leading in the right direction, will give you all the information and then allow you to make your own decisions. And then be there to help course correct when things go astray from time to time, as they do. So what have we got coming up? We got a heap coming up here on Your Music Live. Not Your Music Live, that's the wrong name. Studio Live today. Too many names of too many things. So you can see that the live shows are completely chock-a-block full here. Tomorrow we got some Patreon lives, so patrons, go and check your inboxes for those ones. We've then got next week, we've got the happy hour. We're doing a vacation special happy hour at the usual time there. Your Music Live is at the new earlier time, which is 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UTC, and that happens every Sunday afternoon or evening or Monday morning here in Australia. And as I mentioned earlier, GarageBand Weekly next week is going to be this one here. It's going to be fun. It's going to be all about organization. If you need to help clean up your GarageBand, look, I'm going to like it. I think like your own videos, people. It's like your music, like your own music. I'll drop a link to that one here in the chat. So if you want to go and get yourself set up and ready for that, you can do so over there. And don't forget that all of my GarageBand goodness is stored over here at studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. It is your one-stop shop. What's that? You're not in the GarageBand users Facebook group. You haven't joined the Discord. Get your butt over there. What are you waiting for? It's a lot of fun. Yes, it'll be a little spring cleaning. Hello, Leela, fashionably late. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're having a good day. That's it for me for this week, for the live shows for the weekend, until we reconvene next week. Again, if you're a patron, don't forget we've got our Patreon live, and if you would like to join us, if you'd like to become a patron, studiolivetoday.com/Patreon. For as little as $1 per month, you can join, and then you get to join in on the exclusive live stream that we do every month, as well as you get a little early access to some videos, and you just get a warm feeling in the cockles that you're supporting an independent creator. Yeah, I'm not backed. People say, your big apple must be in your pocket because you do all this GarageBand stuff. I'm like, nope. If you hear what I have to say about Apple sometimes, you know that the last thing they want to do is pay me to say what I like to say. So love being independent, can only be independent because of the support of you wonderful people. that is going to do it. Have a fantastic time. Please be kind to yourself this week. Be kind to others and keep creating. And we'll see you next time here on GarageBand.